今天邀请到一个朋友，他叫 Weder， 他现在人在 Cisco 就任 Senior Software Engineer。今天请他来跟我们大家聊聊他的工作经验，他的这边的环境啊，然后他怎么从巴西，对，他巴西人，他怎么从巴西来到加拿大开始工作的，然后看有什么职业的建议可以给大家，看你是 Junior 还是 Senior Engineer， 或者是正在转职的人，然后对一些技术的看法之类的。Without further ado, let's welcome Weder. Hey, Weder, how are you doing, man?
Hello, I'm doing very good.
Cool.
Very good Friday. I'm still gonna enjoy my Saturday tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. First of all, thank you very much for being here. It's our pleasure to have you here speaking with us today. And why don't you quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Weder Ribas. I work for Cisco as a software engineer. Right now, a senior software engineer at Cisco. I'm originally from Brazil. And I live in Canada since 2019, so it's been 4 years now. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Cool. We'll definitely dig into more details later. So yeah, as an engineer, I had to ask, are you more of a front-end or back-end person now?
It's a funny question. I used to work both sides, so quote-unquote full-stack development, but after working front-end for a long time, kind of got sick of making software that needs to work in many browsers and browsers that are not supported by any companies anymore, so like Internet Explorer, like very old versions of Opera. But well, that's not really why I went more for backend and infrastructure, but kind of like cloud computing more than I like front-end development. So yeah, I'm more a backend guy at this point.
So at this point, what is your favorite preferred tech stack? If you any technology you like to work with, you love to work with?
Yeah, for me, that's a hard question. I never actually loved anything specifically or like preferred one over the other. Just for context, like when I started working as a software engineer, I used to work with PHP, Apache, on a mainframe at IBM back in Brazil.
Yeah.
Later on, I went to work with Java, with Spring Boot and Vue, and then Apollo, GraphQL, and etc. Now I work with mostly Python, Flask, a lot of React, which I don't really touch anymore, but it is there. So I would say my preferred tech stack is the one that gets the job done. However, I have some preferences. So if I was to start a project today, a web development project, I would most likely start, depending on what it is, of course, I would start with TypeScript at the front-end side and React. And at the back-end, I will probably use Python just because that's one of the languages I'm more strong with. If it was to be like microservices or things that need to be very fast, I would go with Rust because I like Rust a lot.
Damn, hyping the Rust train.
Yeah, well, you don't need to rewrite everything in Rust, as people say, but I like it. It's pretty good language for systems.
Right. Let's talk about you more. Back in Brazil, like, what did you study in college?
Yeah, so I studied something. It's a very big name in Portuguese, but I can translate it very short to be systems analysis and development. Basically, it's a branch of computer science, meaning I didn't go very further into the deeps of compilers and stuff like that. It was more focused towards software development and software engineering, and it's called systems development a degree.
Cool. So it's not really software engineering, or it's just a fancy name about software engineering?
It's a fancy name for software engineering, yeah. The name in Portuguese makes more sense because there used to be a long time ago, like 2000, there used to be this profession there, which was called system analyst. So they derived the course name from that. But yeah, it's like a subset of computer science. And that's the reason I went for the master's degree, because I wanted to learn the deep and the core of the computer sciences, like the algorithms, the data structures, the fundamentals of a lot of the math in the computer science part. So yeah.
Cool. Can you now invert a binary tree?
I can. It's not very pleasant, but yeah. And just for context, yeah, I'm attending the master's degree right now in Canada, and yeah, it's been a very complete difference, very complete experience from what I had in Brazil. So before, on my college degree, was focused on getting software done with some specificity and some software engineering around it. Now I'm more into the research of the computer sciences and making it work, like trying to understand why computers work the way they work. So it's very theoretical. We have some practical stuff, but it's very theoretical, yeah.
Damn, nice. Did you always want to do software engineering, or something just struck you and just want to do it?
No, not really. Before having my degree on system analysis and computer science, I got a degree in agriculture. So I actually know a lot about animals and plants in general, but I never really wanted to work with that. It was just agriculture, for those who are saying Greek culture. So plantation animals and stuff like that. And I kind of liked it first I had an university in a school close to my home that had the course. So that's one of the first reasons I went for it. But within that course, I learned some stuff about computer science because we have this, one of the classes was how you measure the land. How do you draw maps and stuff, and there was some coding involved. So that was my first time actually trying coding for real, and I got a job on drawing maps actually. So I went to work with software for map drawing and water systems, which got me more into coding and coding scripts and getting it automated. And after a while, I got very kind of good at it. I was like, well, might as well try the computer science stuff. And yeah, that's where I started thinking about it as a profession. I think when I was 10, I used to teach Excel and Windows for some old ladies at my hometown.
Old ladies.
One of them being my mother-in-law. And it was pretty fun. I used to use computers since 1998, I think. So I kind of knew how to do some coding at the time, but I was not very interested at that. And there was this course that people would take to learn how to use the computer, and one of my aunties were the owner of the school, and I used to be free all the time because I was a child, so she would pull me into to help them learn Excel and typing and window management, etc. So so after I got to the university, I literally fell in love with computer science and never left. And of course, it makes some money, so money is always good.
Yep. I mean, you're pretty good at what you're doing. I think you were at IBM for a couple of years and then eventually kind of came to Vancouver. Why did you come to Canada and how did you find a job here?
Yeah, that's a good question. Since I was a child, I was thought about moving away from Brazil, not because I don't like Brazil, I love it, but because I wanted to explore the world a little bit more. I wanted to see how was the world outside of my home country. And I happened to be born and raised in a street called Canada back in Brazil. So I kind of was related to Canada for a long time in my life. And when I got married, one thing led to another. Both my wife and I wanted to move abroad, and Canada sounded like a good place to go. I started applying for some jobs here many times. So I applied, I think, to 12 or 13 jobs in Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, all cities across Canada. But I never got an interview in none of those that I applied. It was like cold resume drop. I would just go to the company website, put my resume there, and wait for a call, but never got any mail back or anything. And then I got to know about this company called VanHack. I don't have any affiliation with them, and I'm not sponsored by them anyway, so it's just that I got to know about them. And they used to go, and they still do it, that they had these job fairs in Brazil where companies from Canada would fly people over there to interview people. They were finding developers everywhere in the world. I got to know about them, went to one of these job fairs. Actually, I went to 2 of them. In one of them, I didn't get anything. In the second one, I got a couple of interviews, which I did remotely from Brazil. And then on February 2019, I came to Canada for the final interview, the in-person one. And that was when I got the offers. I got 2 offers, and I actually selected Arco to work for. So that's how I got to Canada.
Wow. In the process, did you like, I don't know, how do you sort out the, visa or like working permit and stuff?
Yeah, so before applying to all of those jobs, we were thinking on moving to Canada by like studying, coming as students first, and then trying our luck within the country. But luckily, we got the job before we arrived here, and the company paid for the whole visa thing. So they had like this immigration consultant that did the whole job. I basically provided my documents, and after a month, I got the work permit at home. So yeah, it was a very streamlined process. After 1 month of my interview, I moved to Canada. So it was pretty fast.
Yeah, one of the pre-collected questions was about this. I'm pretty sure we'll dig into that later. Now you're in Arco, can you just briefly discuss what you did there?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, well, Eric may have already mentioned that before, but Arco is a furniture e-commerce business, and my job as a software engineer was to take care of the buying experience, basically 99.9% of the website. So from the front end of the website, the products displays, checkout experience, and if you click that link, most of these pages you are gonna see either Eric or I worked on it. Yeah, I was primarily working on the front end. Later on, at the very end, before I left, more at the front end tooling and infrastructure for that. And yeah, it was a pretty good experience. It was my first time working with e-commerce. I would not say my last time, but e-commerce is a beast by itself. It's very kind of hard business because it's very demanding and dynamic. But it was nice. I learned a lot of things about computing in general and software engineering, but I learned a lot of things about how e-commerce companies work. So it was pretty interesting experience.
Yeah, if you go on that website, article.com, I think if you check the source code, and pretty much we can still see our code there, and we could definitely point out which one is written by us.
Yep, that page didn't change much. A lot of it was our work. So yeah, I can still relate to all of this.
Yeah, not to brag or anything. I think after 2 years, I think you briefly mentioned, and here you are at Cisco. So yeah, could you briefly talk about what you are doing there?
Yeah, for sure. So at Cisco, I kind of do a very different job, like in terms of technologies and what kind of product I work with. So Cisco works primarily with networking, computer networking, and all aspects of it. So we make routers, switches. A lot of the computer networking of the world runs through Cisco today. But Cisco is also big in the area of networking protection. So firewalls, DNS, proxy, and a lot of other things in the cybersecurity area. And my work today is I developed this system which is like a unified policy management. Basically, it's a glue system, like a backbone that connects our DNS, firewall, proxy systems, zero trust network access, a lot of terms like this. We connect all of those with the customers, and they can configure these systems through our application. So they can define policies like, for example, some of our clients are schools in the United States that want to block specific websites from being accessed by the students. So they can go to our system and configure that from this time to that time, I don't want any users on my network to access none of these categories of website. And our systems will take that policy, take what the customer defined, and we'll communicate with the firewall, the DNS, the proxy, and let them know, like, hey, block all of these if you see this traffic coming through the network. And yep, that's the product I work on. It's very heavy on networking, so there is a lot of terms I may have used, like domain name systems, DNS, firewall, proxies, web gateways that we use. So it's very, very different from Arco. Like, I was more in front end. Now I'm not that much into just e-commerce. I'm very deep on the networking side, like the fundamentals of how the internet works, literally. And it's a pretty different job, but I enjoy it a lot.
Cool. So you're the reason I couldn't get on Facebook when I had high school.
Yeah, my job is to make other people's lives not so pleasant, because a lot of companies buy our software and our products to make their networks safe. I mean, most companies don't really block stuff like Facebook anymore, but one thing that, for example, example, our product offers on the DNS side is that we prevent your computer from even resolving the IP of a malicious website. So websites that we know are malware, because we have another team at Cisco called Thousand Eyes. It's a company Cisco bought a long time ago, and they monitor the whole web, and they know most of the websites that are malicious, that contain malware, phishing, etc. So we can prevent you from even being exposed to malware because your computer won't even connect to those servers. So it's a pretty good service. It will protect people's lives sometimes.
All right, I'll trust you then. So yeah, let's talk about the work itself. Like back in Brazil, you were at IBM. Here in Canada, you've been Arco, and now Cisco. Comparing the work environment, is it competitive here comparing to one another, or like, for example, people work late to meet deadline, or like there's hierarchy, superiority that you have to follow, like you cannot object to your manager or whatever?
Yeah, I think because we are still in Americas, like in the American continent, like I was from South America, now I'm North America. It's not very different, I would say, from Brazil compared to Canada in terms of work. Like it's very competitive. You gotta work a little bit extra sometimes to make it work. The thing that is very different is the culture. Like in Brazil, we used to be a bit more relaxed with people. So there is this thing of Brazilians that we are kind of intimate with everyone. Like we talk about our personal lives to everyone, and we are not very close up. So you kind of get to know people personally very deep when you work with them. Meanwhile, in Canada, I work with a lot of people, but I just became friends with 4 of them, Eric being one of them. So it's a bit harder to make deep friends and long-lasting friends in Canada, I would say. Not because people are close to it, it's just because people respect boundaries a lot. So it's a lot of respect on people's lives. Like work is work, your personal life is your personal life, and I'm kind of into it. I kind of like it. Like I don't need to have 100,000 friends. It's okay to have just a feel good friends. But in terms of work, it's very similar. Like it's very competitive. I used to work late hours in Brazil a lot. Here I work the same or even more, because now, even more, because now, as I grow in seniority, a lot of responsibilities fall into my shoulders. So I gotta make a lot of more things work, and a lot of other people depend on me as well. I think that there is the main difference. It's just the culture that is not exactly the same. But in terms of hierarchy and stuff like that, I would say in Brazil we have even more openness. Like you could say things with more honesty without sugarcoating, like trying to make it what they say, the American sandwich thing. Like say something good, then you give the bad feedback, and then you say something good again. We would just say whatever we need to say, and that's it. So a little bit more honesty and less sugarcoating stuff.
I see. It's, to be honest, it's a bit hard to imagine that, especially in Asia. I have a quick question in chat from Alan. Just what is the cultural shock when you first arrived here?
I think it was, I briefly mentioned it, but like the personal boundaries of stuff. Like I come from a country that is very open to everyone. Like you stop someone at the street to talk to them, like you ask about the time, and 10 minutes later you know their name, their family names, and you know the whole life story. So you get to know people personally very fast. And I would say that's true for almost 100% of the Brazilians. We are pretty open with our lives. In Canada, good luck trying to get anyone to tell about their personal life if they're not interested to. So it's a bit more European-centered culture, yeah.
Yeah, I see. So, you've been to 3 companies now, and I think there are more, right? How do you usually prepare for job interviews? And, how do you choose which company you want to work for?
Yeah, in terms of preparation, I think it doesn't differ much from what you guys are used to hear about. So, I do a lot of coding challenges on the side. I personally don't like them as a way of interviewing people. I don't really use them when I interview people. But unfortunately, most of the market will use it. I don't do much lead coding. I kind of don't like their website that much. I prefer books. So I have a lot of books on algorithms and interviewing and system design interviews, refactoring, debugging, and about software engineering good practices. So I'm kind of weird. Like I don't really go to the online tools. I go to books. I like books more. And that's where I get most of the knowledge I know. In terms of selecting the company, the first thing I always say is look for the company online and see if people like the product, like the company. Before you like the team or the money or whatever, like, is it a good company that people would work for? Does someone know about it? What do they make? How are the reputation on the internet? And of course, I always look, after looking out of that, of course, you go to Glassdoor or Blind or whatever websites and see the reviews, general comments. I would say Blind's probably not the best place because people tend to be over negative there.
Yeah, very toxic there.
Yeah, everyone is toxic all the time. So not all companies are that bad. Not all companies are that good. But I commonly look at the financial of the company. So like if you're applying for a company and you want to know if your job will be secure for a while and things are going to be okay, I look like, is this company making money? What kind of products are they making? How diverse are them? Like let's say you apply for a company that only does like cryptocurrency exchange. Well, I have nothing against cryptocurrency, but your job is much riskier than you're very in a risk of losing your job very soon because it's a very volatile market. Meanwhile, if you work for a company that like, well, for example, Cisco, they are in the market since 1984 and they do a lot of things. They sell a lot of different things. So I kind of like companies that have a broad range of products. I don't really go for companies that are like, oh, hey, I'm doing this new thing here that we got just $1 million from a VC capital thing, and let's try to make it work. Some people are pretty good at doing that. I just don't like that kind of risk that much.
You know, currently you're a senior, almost a tech lead, and you were also junior once. What's in your opinion, what sort of skill sets does, each junior and senior need to have? Or actually, what does a junior and senior need to do? And how does one go from junior to senior?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of factors. Before I say anything about skills, I would say there is a lot of luck. Like sometimes you are prepared and very well prepared, but you just are not lucky to get that specific position. So there is some terms of luck on that, but you are not going to leave everything to chance. So if you can prepare. I would say the best skills I have found so far are first being very curious, being someone that is not really like, you are just not slacking all the time. You are curious about new things, you want to learn new things, and you are avid to learn. And you have a real interest for learning new things. It's not like, oh, I'm going to learn this because this is the new trend. No, you just learn for the sake of learning anything. And while you're curious and you're learning stuff, things that I have done in the past that helped me get here was to, first, I document everything I learned. So I learn it for real. Like I write it down. I try to make real examples. So I don't just watch a tutorial. I read the book about that language. I go to different sources of information. I take different opinions on that. And that gives you more and more range of things, more tools in your belt to know about things. And one thing that is very important is being open to being mentored, to have a mentor. Find someone that will help you learn something faster, someone that already did it and that is open to help you learn. And being open to mentorship and to learn from others and to sometimes get negative criticism over your work is okay. When someone is trying to help you, they will probably point things you are doing wrong. So don't be over sensitive when people complain about something or give you feedback. If they're being respectful, take it and learn from it. It's good to be open in that sense. And that helps you when you're junior, when you're intermediate, senior in any positions. There is always someone that knows more about something that you know. There is always someone that can help you understand new things. And to get to junior to senior, the only difference I would say is a junior person is just someone that didn't make enough mistakes yet. The longer you stay in the industry and in the career, more mistakes mistakes you make, you learn more things, and you know how to avoid making the same mistakes again. Keep trying. Don't be like afraid of taking risks, and try new things. Try things on your own. Be curious. Don't just watch tutorials and think you know something. Really go there and try it for real. Break some stuff. After a long time, you get some scars. You get like battle scars, and those help you get there. And at some point, someone will recognize you and get, okay, you have done this enough that I can call you senior now, and you know how to help other people do this.
You're making it sound like we're going to war.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Now let me see your war face.
All right, so as a senior, or in your case, tech lead almost, you probably don't have much time, but how do you stay up to date with the latest trend in tech?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Many fields change all the time. Tech field changed every single second. There's always something new going on. I kind of filter a lot of things because there's a lot of noise coming from a lot of places. So I have very specific places that I go for. One, I go to very specific news websites. So like TechCrunch, Wired, those kind of not very computer oriented or software oriented. Those are just like what's going on around the world in terms of technology. And then I go down a little bit more into like hacker news and Twitter from time to time. Like I have very specific Twitter feeds that I follow. Like I don't hear all the noise that everyone makes. I have very specific people that I follow that are very good at broadcasting knowledge. And more recently, I have subscribed to some newsletters. They're pretty good. One being your newsletter, Eric, and there are like 2 or 3 more that I'm subscribed to. And people talk generally about like pragmatic programming and software engineering culture, and they always bring what is new in the industry or what people are trying. And one other thing that I do, which is kind of curious, I don't know if many people do it. I follow this company called EricL, that is like a book publishing company, and because they need to write books, they always need to know the trends as well, because they need to write the new book. So they always publish new books and they publish new articles about stuff they are going to write about. So that's a place where I get a lot of information. So sometimes there is a new version of something, or sometimes there is this new programming language that came out, and they are always ahead of me, so I follow them. For those who are curious, it's called EricL, like this, I think.
Cool, thanks, man. On a related note, like, because you just mentioned like there's too many new things going out there, a lot of noises. How do you stay focused? Now FOMO, when there's anything new come out, how do you just stay on your path and learn what you want?
Yeah, the first thing I do is I filter a lot of noise. Like if you go to, let's say, Twitter, and you take Twitter as the source of truth for news, you're gonna get crazy in 2 days. Just too many things. People say, oh, the latest thing is Web3 and blockchain, and 6 months later they change. Oh, no, the new thing is now no code. Okay, no, the new thing is now ChatGPT and AI, and you want to learn all about everything, and you're gonna get scared and crazy. So first, I found people that I trust, that they are pretty good, I would say, pretty good gurus on telling what's gonna stick and what's not gonna stick. So I have very specific people that I follow on Twitter, for example, that if they post about something interesting, most likely that it's pretty good things. But if new things keep coming all the time, I do I have this strategy that I do when I'm reading articles about research. Like, for example, now in the master's degree, I have a lot of articles to read, 40, 50, 100 articles sometimes. I'm not gonna read them all. So what I do is I read the abstract. I just read the introduction, the initial part of it, and I get the sense of it, and then I let it go. If it is really important and I see it again and again and again, I might as well check it. But I don't go deep in everything. I just go deep in things that are really interesting or things that are related to my work. And that's a good thing. Like if you are working, and most likely things about your work are more relevant to you than following the latest trends on, I don't know, blockchain. Do you work with blockchain? No. Are you interested in it? No. Well, you probably don't need to know much about it unless you want to change areas or you're just curious.
Cool. All right. We had just 2 more questions before we get to Q&A. What what advice, career advice, I guess, would you give to our audience?
I would say the first thing is try to be pragmatic, meaning don't make things overcomplicated just for the sake of making it. Be very specific at what you want to do and do it well. There is a lot of people always say, "Oh, there is too many engineers in the world. There is too many people everywhere." But I would say there is a lot of people in the world, of course, but people with the willing to try hard and to make things work well and to have good care in what they do is very few people. You may get to know a lot of people that are playing instruments, but there is very few people that play very well. So there is no real talent. It's just a lot of effort. Put the hours, like sit down and work and study and try it hard. And once you get to try it enough, you get the knowledge required to succeed in a lot of things. Of course, sometimes you want to give up, and well, if you give up, you won't get it. So try not to give up if you can't. Career-wise, I would say go the extra mile, like do something extra. Let's say you are at work and you are coding and you just need to change one line of code, but the other line is kind of messy. There is no test for that, or it's missing something. Well, go the extra mile, and if you have the time, fix it a little bit, add some tests, make it prettier. You will learn something new. You do something that someone is not doing as well, and you make some difference. So that helped me a lot in my career. Like I had 8 years of experience, nine years of experience, and I was able to jump a lot of positions that a lot of people that are working for 15, 20 years didn't do, which is just, well, I care a lot about what I do. Like I don't take it lightly, I take it very seriously. And yeah, that helps in the career a lot.
Seriously, I mean, I've seen it firsthand, so I know. So as a closing thought, looking towards the future, what technology excites you? What do you envision, how this is going to shape the industry over the next few years?
That's a nice one. I hope people don't get mad if I don't say AI. But I have other things in my mind that are better than AI at this point. Things that I like more. So I'm very into cybersecurity stuff and privacy. And this is something that it's not like mainstream, meaning it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not always there and people don't hear about it all the time. But there is a lot of changes happening on the cybersecurity front and privacy and studies about security, how people become secure online and how do you protect your privacy with things, all of these new things coming around, trying to just shape reality in these bubbles of technology. So yeah, I keep one eye out for a lot of things are going to change pretty soon. There is a lot of problems happening everywhere about privacy that are kind of emerging, and cybersecurity is an area that I like a lot, so I'm always looking forward to what's happening in the future there. There's a lot of things on like digital trust. How do you make sure that all your digital life is safe? You can really trust what's going on there. Outside of this area, of course, well, people will always say, hey, AI and machine learning and ChatGPT is gonna take off the world. Yes and no. It's been like this for a long time. Like the hype is now on ChatGPT, but I've been in the academy, like in the university for a while, and these AI models and everything like this exist for a long time. They were just not public, or some of them were just not good at the UI that people couldn't use it very well. But it's not going to transform the world as people are saying. It's going to change a lot of things, but like don't be that scared that like, oh, everyone is going to be useless pretty soon. That we are far away from that, and if that's ever going to happen, it will take a lot of time.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the end of the interview, and let's get to some Q&A. Let me say that in Chinese. Yep. So first question, a lot of people are interested in your total compensation, year of experience and role. Actually, let me say that question in Chinese first. 有人想问 Weder 他总薪资、他的年资还有现在职位。So yeah, Weder, what's your TC and YOE?
Yeah, well, I gotta say that I had to Google YOE because I was not used to that term, but I got to know that it's years of experience. So I'll start from the back to the front. So my role is senior software engineer at Cisco. On the Cisco ladder, I think I'm grade 10. So it's like I'm right before technical leadership, which I hope will be my next position pretty soon. Years of experience, I have broadly 8 to 9 years of experience. I have some experience that I actually didn't add to my LinkedIn, but yeah, I would say 8.5 years of experience. As for total compensation, yeah, $2 million. No, I'm kidding. Of course, no. I don't make that. I wish I made that much money.
What the fuck? I'm gonna apply to it.
No. So I'll say the amount of money that I got when I was hired at Cisco. It was 2 years ago. So you guys are gonna get a good feeling of what it was 2 years ago, and it didn't change much. I got 140,000 Canadian dollars, and I have no idea how much that is in USD, but $140,000 in Canadian dollar per year. And when joining, I got a bonus stocks of 51,000 USD, so vesting over 3 years. So yeah, that was it. And there was yearly bonus of 15%. So on top of the 140K, there was plus 15% bonus per year. It has changed not a lot since then, but I'm still around total compensation of 180, 185.
Cool.
I hope that's specific enough.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. Initially, when I heard the question, I was like, I don't think we should answer that, but thank you for being so kind to being so transparent.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. And just for context, when I got to Canada on 2019, I was offered 90,000 Canadian dollars, and 1 year after that, I got a promotion to 110,000 Canadian dollars. So this was 2019 and 2020, and well, there was a kind of a big jump after that to 140,000, and there was a little bit more jump. So I'm around 185 now, hoping to get to 200,000 pretty soon.
Shit, me too. I mean, look at my Rivian style. It's like, yeah, I don't want to say it. 这边有人想要直接开麦的吗？其实我也不知道怎么排队啦，你先讲先赢吧。
Yeah, I am another Eric. Yeah, I have a question which is about the system design. I'm recently preparing for the system design, but I found that I only know the front of the system design. I didn't know the detail. So how can I practice that?
Yeah,
I mean, my goal is to understand the detail of the database, the detail of the every component in this system. So how can I get familiar with that and without losing the focus on the big picture?
System design interview is I think it is one of the hardest parts of the interview. I would say if you don't have the full experience, meaning you never worked in full big systems, it will be hard indeed. So hopefully that's for a more senior position. If someone is interviewing that for a junior position, focus more on explaining how this overall system would work rather than going too much into details, and just clarify details if they ask about it. Like, don't give too many details so you don't get lost. But if it is more senior positions, then well, at that point you probably have the experience to learn, to know more about.
I am a junior developer, and for my working experience, I didn't have experience with that component. I'm not satisfied with just understanding the basic. I want to understand the detail.
I would say the best advice is you probably try to implement smaller systems with all of these details. So if you're like talking about a system that has like caching and distributed systems, try to build it yourself in your own time so you can get more like deep knowledge about it. But without the full experience, it's indeed hard. So you would have to read a lot about it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got the point. Thank you.
So what do you think the AI needs in order to replace software engineering? Like, do you think it needs to understand context more, or do you think it needs to understand how to work with other people, or it just needs general intelligence in order to replace us?
Yeah, and again, with the risk of being wrong and proven by the future that I'm wrong, which I'm gonna say, the first thing is that we as computer scientists or people that create the science, we make it very hard. So it's very hard for any AI systems to really understand a big picture software right now. It will probably replace simple things like, hey, I want to create a blog. It will create a blog post and a website, like a tiny blog website, but it can't really create a gigantic distributed system. So the system I work on right now, we are around 800 people working on the systems. I can really imagine 800 brains being replaced by a computer with a gigantic model that can understand the whole complexity of this. and implementing all the tiny pieces that make this work, plus putting this in production, monitoring, guaranteeing that it works, and changing for new features every single day. So again, AIs will be very good at writing specific code, but not systems. Systems is a very big thing, it's a very human thing to write, and it requires a lot of humans. That's the point. Also, it's very expensive. Like if you want to have AIs that can replace this amount of people, it's going to cost more than what it costs to pay people salaries. Like the current cost of a single ChatGPT search we do, it's prohibitive. They don't really make money with it yet because they spend too much energy to compute it. So yeah, it will take a couple of years or maybe a lot of years. Maybe quantum computing will help it, but replacing the job, not, at least not in our lifetimes. I don't think so.
Okay, thanks for the answer. That's very thorough.
For people who want to work overseas, could you like give some advice on job searching, resume writing, remote interviewing?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to work overseas, but are they willing to come to Canada or other countries, or working remotely? Not sure. I'll assume both ends. So let's imagine the first one, which is coming to another country like Canada, US, London, United Kingdom, of course. Getting a job remotely and then coming to the country, like it's very hard. Like when you apply to another, especially if you are like in a very distant country, different time zones and etc., it tends to be hard. Experience counts a lot. So unfortunately, I would say for junior engineers, it's harder. Not impossible, but it's harder. If you have more experience, couple of years, like 5 years of experience and good experience, like meaningful experience, it's quite easier to apply. Look for companies that are open to help you with immigration. Otherwise, companies that are just looking to hire internal people from the same country, they will make it hard for you. So they might not even give you an answer. There is also job fairs. So sometimes look online. There are sometimes provinces like Quebec in Canada. They go to a lot of countries to find people to move there. Not because Quebec is horrible to live. It's quite cold, but because they speak French and there's not enough people in the world that speak French. So that's one point. If you like to learn French, you can try it. If you want to work remotely only, I would say you gotta be very experienced, very good, because otherwise getting your resume noted in the millions of resumes that people get every day, it's harder. Tips to writing the resume, I think it probably won't help much. There are a lot of good online things on how to write resumes. Just try to make it very concise. Like don't waste a lot of pages talking about things. Put the things that matter a lot on the resume and don't let it be too big. It doesn't need to be one page only, but like don't make it be more than 2 or 3 pages. People won't read more than that. And yeah, and do a lot of things on the side. Like if you can have some projects that you work on the side, open software, or any other projects that you can show off that you know things, that helps a lot.
Cool, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Fun fact, we actually have one audience living in Quebec, right? And she doesn't speak French, but anyways.
Yeah, and that happens. Yeah, I have friends living in Montreal that they have no idea how to speak French.
So I have the question about the time management. So how do you manage the time in the day to learn the thing you need to learn or the thing you are interested in?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's something I was pretty bad for a long time. I still think I'm not pretty good at it, and I'm trying to get better. But like I have a very specific calendar, so like I try to organize my time and do things in a very specific order, so I don't overdo things or stop doing others. One thing that is important is that try to time box things. Like don't do something more than enough time to do it. So like if I'm gonna learn this new programming language, maybe schedule like 30 minutes a day, and for months, instead of trying, I'm gonna use 3 hours a day for 2 weeks. Sometimes consistency is better than just the volume of hours. So if you do 30 minutes a day for 3 months, it's probably better than doing 3 hours every day for 2 weeks. So keep being consistent and time box, like put a limit to the amount of hours you spend doing things. Of course, social media and the internet can be a black hole, so you can get sucked into doing things that you don't really want to do. So try to be very conscious about your time.
we also know that the consistency is also a pretty tough stuff during our careers. So my next question is, sometimes when you work too hard and you sometimes get tired, what motivates you to learn more, keep learning things during your career? What is your motivation?
Yeah, so I think the thing is, don't let things get to a point that it becomes just horrible. Like if you are tired or work has been too hard and you still want to learn some other things, you need to try to say no to some things and avoid just getting sucked into too much stressful things. Getting the genuine knowledge of or likable of like, hey, I like learning just because I like learning things helps. Like if you just like learn something, you will try it anyways. Doesn't matter if it is important or if people like it or not. It's just that you like learning something and you try it anyways.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
Alan, you want to ask a question?
Let me think about this first.
All right, cool. 我自己有一个问题啦，就我觉得每个人找工作应该都蛮重要的，就是你要怎么谈判，你要怎么谈你也想要的薪水。但我先讲，不知道这同一招能不能在台湾使用，因为毕竟不一样。So yeah, hey Weder, how do you usually negotiate your salary?
Commonly, companies, and that's a kind of a bad thing, I don't really like it, but companies will not give you the best offer they can. So they always leave room for like increases. So I never accept whatever they offer. I always ask for more. Of course, I do that because I'm in a comfortable position that I don't really need the job right now. So if you are afraid of losing the offer or you need the job right now, maybe sometimes you just take it. But they commonly lowball you, so they will offer something that is not really the best they can offer. But be reasonable as well. So if they offer you 150K, don't ask for 250 because that doesn't make sense. So work the range that makes sense. Like do your research, make sure that you know how much the range is worth it, and you can always ask for more, proving that like, hey, I can do this and this and this, and I have this kind of skills that I think is desirable for this position, and it will help in the long run, so it's worth that time. And remember, if the company got you an offer, they are most likely, hiring is very painful, so they want to keep you. If you ask for 15,000 more or 20,000 more, there may not be a problem, depending on the range, of course. If they offer you 90,000, they probably won't give you 110 unless you're pretty good at negotiating. Yep. But yeah, always ask for more. It's pretty good.
Always reject the first offer. That's never the best one. Yeah, I reject the first offer and then they double the stock.
Yeah, oh yeah, especially stocks. Stocks is pretty easier for the company to compromise on because base salary goes like there's a lot of taxation and they gotta keep paying you the same base salary forever. So stocks is mostly a one-time thing. So if you can get a bigger bonus to enter, it's probably better.
Anyways.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a risk, yeah, of course.
Cool.
So it's me again. Name's Alan. I'm also a software engineer in Canada. I'm based in Toronto.
Nice.
I just have a series of immigration questions I want to ask because I think people here are quite interested in immigration. You mentioned that you were first on a work visa to start working in Canada, and then after that you apply for PR. For the application process from going from the work visa to PR, what's the method that you used?
I did all by myself. So I went for immigration lawyers and it was too expensive. It was not expensive as I could not pay for it, but it was expensive like, hey, I could buy a new MacBook with it. Seriously, yeah, it was around $5,000 at the time. And I was like, no, I can use it for better things. So what I did was I literally got into reading the whole Canada immigration website. They have all the information there, everything that you need to do, all the processes, different types of immigration things you can do, different processes to get applied. Then you get to know about like express entry, and you read more about that, and you know how to apply and which kind of documents they need. And yeah, that's what I did. I went there to the website and I studied a lot of it. Also, if you go online and look for like Canada immigration help, you find a lot of blogs of people posting what they did as well. And I basically did all of it. So I applied by myself, created my profile, my wife's profile, submitted all the things, did the English test, all the exams, everything they needed. And just took a little bit of patience. Like you need to wait a little bit for the express entry pool to call you because it's a little bit random, but it's possible. I did it in about 6 months, like the whole process, and then the rest was just waiting for the process to complete. 6 months of like gathering documents, finding what I needed to do, and etc., and reading and studying, and then about 8 months waiting for the process to complete. And after that, I did 2 more for 2 friends at work, and they also got the PRs.
Okay, so you mentioned that you went through the express entry method. Could you describe a little bit what the process is like, and then also you describe a little bit of your experience with the entire system?
Yep. So express entry is a way that Canada Immigration Council found of bringing immigrants in a fast pace. Fast meaning is not a week, a month, but fast meaning it's not 10 years. Because some countries like the United States, you're going to wait very long time to get a green card. So it's a pool, like you get a lot of people with points, and these people will score better points or less points depending on some qualities. Like if you have more work experience and you are young and you have master's degree or PhD, these kind of things will count towards your points, and the more points you have, the more likely are you to get called into the application process. And Express Entry is a federal program, so it's not a province-specific program. So if you get into it, you can go to any province you want. You can also sum it up with the provinces program. So in my case, I got help from the British Columbia province through the Tech Pilot program. So I applied to both things, to the Express Entry and to the British Columbia Tech Pilot, which gave me a lot of points for the Express Entry. And tips that I give to everyone is, well, try to be as good as you can on English, because the best you score on the test, the best it will increase your points. If you have undergrad, it's nice. If you can do a master's, it's even better. And what else? Yeah, years of experience counts. If you have years of experience outside of Canada, is good. If you manage to get 1 year of experience in Canada, is better, because you enter in some other positions like Canadian experience class. Yeah, so it's a lot of things like that. And of course, the younger you are, the better. So every year that passes, you lose some points. That's something you cannot control, but it's good to know. Like if you are over 40 years old, it becomes, I think you lose all the points for age, but the younger, the better.
Okay, I have a quick follow-up on that. So you mentioned the BC program. Do you know what the full name is?
Let's see if they still have it. They might have changed the name because it was 3 years ago, but I'll post a link here that might help. It's in general, it's called the BC PNP, Provincial Nominee Program. And within that, maybe look for there's the BC PNP Tech. So if you scroll that page down, you'll find BC PNP Tech. Yeah, especially for people on computer science areas. Software engineers, software developers, data analysts, database administrators, etc.
Yeah, I think we can for sure call it. Thank you everyone for coming, for joining this event. Thanks Weder for coming.
Thank you. Have a good one.
感谢大家观看，我是水球潘。水球软体学院是全民成长型的新形态软体社群，这里每个人都很充实、欢乐和友善，而且每天晚上我们都有线上的聚会哦。所以赶紧从影片下方的讯息区点击连结，加入我们的脸书社团和 Discord 伺服器，赶快加入我们吧，我们都在这里等你哦。另外，水球软体学院的精华影片之后都会上传到这个水球软体学院的 YouTube 频道中，请各位也订阅一下水球软体学院的 YouTube 频道吧。那我们就下一次聚会中再见了。